Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IKoK, the International Koalition of Krones chat. Wow, 3 months since our last chat. We're very glad that you could join us this evening. Let me introduce myself. I'm Essence Katharis, the founder and one of the Krones of the IKoK. We're very excited to be back to work, I guess you could call it, and that everyone was able to join us, whether you're joining us live right now or in no time, no space, and be listening to this in the recording. Thank you very much. We're truly honored. I'd like to take this moment to ask the other two Krones to say hello. And Kabaha, would you like to go first?
Good evening, well, good morning, wherever you are. I'm Kobaha. I live in northern Arizona near Sedona. I'm an intuitive spiritual facilitator and crystal therapist. I'm so glad to be back. I miss all of you, and hopefully tonight we can share some amazing information.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kabaha. Yeah. Ariane.
Hi, I'm Ariane. I should say good day because it's right in the middle of my day here in Australia, in the far north of Queensland, crocodile country. We have lots of them. I'm so excited to be back. I really am. I've missed you guys. Let's get this show on the road and get some amazing stuff spoken about.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Okay, we're going to do things a little different this time. This is absolutely free flowing, a true chat. We have really no information program laid out like we usually do. But we are going to be talking about don't lose sight of the big picture. And what we're talking about there, what we mean by that is we're talking about what's going on in the collective right now and global society. And so this is just let's talk, let's chat, let's, share some information. Like always, there will be times when if you have something to say or ask, you will be able to. You can, when we hit those times, if you have something, you can ask it in the chat. There is a chat here. Type it in the chat, and then that way that we know that, you're interested in participating in whatever way that is. Just realize that if you do unmute and talk, that you will be on the recording and this will go up on YouTube. So I always like to give everyone fair warning because some people are comfortable with that and some aren't. Okay, so very quickly, we're going to take just a moment to how I always start these chats by reading a couple of Metatronic numerology IM keyword phrases. This simply helps us to come together and create an energy space within which to work for the chat. So the first one that I would like to share this evening is what we call the heart of the IKoK, or the main frequency of the IKoK. It is the 2266 dual frequency. And as I read these frequencies, if you just, relax and listen to the words, but more than listening to the words, just allow the energy to wash over you and through you of what this message, the IM keyword phrases share. So the 2266 dual frequency. I am the master of divine balance. Through the remembrance of the singing of the sacred cosmic song of self, I ignite creation of new realities. I am that which rebalances and heals. One other frequency I'd like to share. We call this the work of the IKoK, or the four cornerstones of the IKoK, the 2277 dual frequency. I am the form of the sacred structure of collective reality known through the awakened divine rational mind. I build reality upon the foundation whose cornerstones are honor, integrity, responsibility, and expansion of sacred perspective. I am the master builder of collective galactic realities. One last thing I always like to share, just a message from myself, Essence Catheris, and the other Krones of the IKoK. Let it be said, I, Essence Catheris, we, the Krones of the IKoK, hold no answers that can be considered 100%, nothing finalized. What we do hold are perspectives and possibilities. What we share, the information we share, the teachings we share, once shared, become potentials. And with that, let us begin this coming together of sharing. Feeling called to simply ask the other two Krones before we do what we talked about, Kobaha. Is there anything that either of you feel compelled to share right here in this moment? Anything that's coming forward? No? Okay. Then what we're going to do, because like I said, this chat is different than how our normal usual platform. Okay, we will be going back to our usual platform in subsequent chats, but this one, after being off for so long, we want to share. Okay, this is what it is. All right. They do have something they want to share. They just forgot. We all forgot. I'll remind them real quick. We're going to share just very quickly why we've been gone for 3 months, to be perfectly honest. And that is because all three of us, all three Krones of the IKoK, we all have had, I'm going to say, major life events happen that by no stretch of the imagination did we ever think would be the end of this work, but it was definitely spirit signs that it was time for each of us individually and collectively as the IKoK, the Krones of the IKoK, that we had what's the word I'm looking for here? We just had an experience that had to be dealt with. And for our growth, our individual growth that we each are, and our growth as the Krones of the IKoK. I will start and share just a little bit, and we're going to share just very quickly. My personal experience that said take a break from work for a little while was on the evening of the 2nd of February. I had a heart attack from out of nowhere, totally unexpected, and very interesting. It's been quite a journey. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I back to on the 2nd. On the 2nd, the evening of the 2nd of February, I had the heart attack about 10 o'clock. By the evening of the afternoon of the 5th, they put 2 stents in. I had a heart attack. I had no problems after the initial heart attack, no more pain, no more problems of any type. That's why they could even wait for so long. I had 99% blockage in one artery, 90 in the other. They put the stent in. I got to watch. That was an amazing experience. Got to watch it on big screen TV as they actually moved through my physical heart. That's quite, anyone who's ever had an experience like that goes, wow, that was interesting in itself. So that was in the afternoon of the 5th. Before noon on the 6th, I was headed home. I was back to walking the next day. Yoga, I had to wait to go back for 2 weeks because I had to wait for where they entered the artery in my wrist and my arm to heal so that that didn't bust back open. Now, that's the physical part of it. The spiritual, emotional, and mental part of it has been quite the journey in itself. I'm not going into all of that here, but I will tell you that about 2 to 3 weeks, I want to say it was, before I had this heart attack. Like I said, I was in the best health I've probably been in since I was in my 20s, after making some major life changes in 2019. So it was very unexpected. There was no warning of any type that this was coming. It just happened. There was no damage. That was the other thing, so that everyone knows. Okay. But about 2 to 3 weeks before this, my guides, my crew, as I call them, said to me one day, very point blank, very matter of fact, no drama, no anything like that, just point blank, and nothing more. So we're going to crack you open. I knew immediately that that meant heart chakra work, but I'll have to admit I had no idea that meant a physical heart attack to go along with it. So that is my part in this as one of the Krones of the IKoK. Now I'm going to let one of the other two ladies share whatever it is they want to share about their. So Ariane, you first this time? Okay.
Hi, I'm still, well, we're all still working through the things that have happened to us. Mine actually started, in some respects, many years ago. Both my parents living in the UK and both of them suffering from dementia. And because it was causing too much confusion and upset. That was 6 years ago. Late last year, my father passed, and earlier this year, my mother passed, and I discovered that I had been completely withdrawn from their wills. I had not been acknowledged. I'd been removed from their family. And I just may cry now. So that was really difficult. With regards to inheritance and things like that, that was not relevant at all, for various reasons. But being removed from your family in the physical world is actually incredibly difficult. On top of that, I then found some family history that was incredibly disturbing, and it made me review my entire life and everything that I've believed in my entire life, almost since birth. My memories go back to the age of 1, and all my memories I've had to review. I've had to review how I've interacted with various people and how they've interacted with me. This is all the physical stuff. On the spiritual side, that led me into looking very deeply into ancestral work. And I found that there is a karmic imbalance that goes back generations that I can trace. And this is what I'm working on really deeply at the moment. And it is not easy work to do. It is very confronting, and it makes you step up and understand yourself in a way that you possibly never could before. It also leads you not just through that past work, but it leads you forward into future generations as well. So I'm seeing how this has affected my family, my daughter, her children, and things like that. It's going right through a whole 7 generations. And so it's been something I've had to withdraw myself to a fair degree and delve deeply into to resolve things. I'm getting things sorted out. Things are starting to move in the right direction, and I'm ready to start rolling and stepping up. Hopefully a wiser person, but we shall see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ariane. As you can see, and I want everyone to understand the reason that we are sharing these personal parts of our stories, parts of our personal stories, is just to show no one's exempt with what is going on in this collective right now. No one. And we know firsthand what everyone is dealing with. Okay. Kobaha?
How interesting. I don't know if you've noticed already, Essence had more a physical event. Oriane is more the emotional. I'm in the same boat. Basically, sorry, my voice is trembling, but it's hard to share. But basically, a revelation, shocking revelation, I found out about something in my family, came up out of nowhere. I know for some fact, going back when I was younger, I had doubts about something. And for me, not only it was a revelation, but a confirmation of something. So what I did, like Oriane, I went within and did some soul searching big time. And what I mean by that, I don't know if some of you saw the meme I created yesterday about joining the void. That's where I went, into that place of silence where I felt kind of safe. And I was searching for deeper meaning. But guess what? It was about 4 weeks ago that happened. I wanted to find out why on earth it happened now. And what was the meaning? What spirit was trying to tell me? Well, I found out 2 things. First thing is my connection with the collective. You need to understand in 2020, last year, the pandemic was not really a problem for me. I managed to stay balanced. I was observing what was happening in the collective. I was not disconnected, but I was not totally connected. And Spirit basically told me, you had to go through that to feel the energy that the collective is going through now. And I totally get it. As a spiritual facilitator, I need to know, I need to understand more. And I know since February, I launched my website and I did many personal readings for people. Half of them were people in desperate situation, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to think. And I suddenly realized I put things like a jigsaw puzzle, pieces together, and I realized that. The other thing I realized only last week is before the event, I had many messages from Spirit saying to me, you are ready to step up to another level to connect to higher wisdom. And at the time I thought, okay, when it's coming, I'll deal with it. But what I realized, what happened, I know Essence had physically a heart totally open, mine open, but on an energy, emotion, all energy just shifted very quickly. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, it had to happen in order for me to evolve and to connect on a higher level. So that's where I'm at. But I must admit, last week, I used one of an oracle deck and I had a message from Spirit saying to me, welcome back. You're there. You're doing the work, trying to understand the meaning of major crises happening. I think it's very important, but yeah, that's where basically I'm at. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to add here that all 3 of us and the events that we have experienced personally, I know for myself, and I know for the other 2 Krones as well, but for myself, not only was the event very physical, it ran the gamut. Okay. You all are very familiar, the vast majority of you here this evening are familiar with my work. And you're very familiar with hearing me say over and over and over, you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. You cannot in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I have learned so much personally from this very physical event that I experienced, but it was beyond just physical. It has literally changed who I am forever in this lifetime. I see reality very differently. I see my belief system very differently. And I'll be perfectly honest, even in the last 4 years, I know I have, because I've been on this path for a very long time. Okay. On this, in this lifetime, I'm talking about, all right, over 40 years. And I mean, let me count. I mean, I don't want to lie to you. Yeah, over 45 years. Okay. And I have let go, but we should. And we're going to start here, I think. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Okay. First thing that's coming through. This is a journey. This is a journey. It's not a destination. And across this journey, in this, and I'm going to focus from this belief system being the epicenter of where I'm talking about, but it's true from any point, any epicenter. You are the epicenter. I am the epicenter. Each and every one of us are the epicenter of this journey. And if you are still holding on to beliefs that, even though when you first came to be exposed to them and learn about them, and if you're still holding on to them for any amount of time, and the amount of time varies for individual, because remember, you're the epicenter, but it's a journey is what is my point. Your beliefs should change. You should release. You should come to understand, okay, as you come to understand more and more, as you study and learn and grow and expand your consciousness, there will be beliefs that, let's just, say it from the human filter perspective, that years ago you were like, oh, wow, you were just totally blown away. And they were major then. They were. And they always will be for that point in time, for that point, for that person you were then. But if you're still holding on to beliefs that no longer serve your good simply because it's your comfort zone, you're stagnating. And you've got to let go and move on. Now, that doesn't mean they were wrong. That's the hard part of letting go of beliefs, especially spiritual beliefs. All right. Because when you get to a point in your growth where you start questioning, oh, wow, did I just click on something? I'll come back to it. When you start questioning beliefs, long-held beliefs, spiritual beliefs that you've held, okay, really look at them. Okay, but what happens is, and I'll be honest, for me, when this began really in earnest about 4 years ago, this letting go of beliefs that I had held for a long time in this belief system, I'm a teacher. Okay, it's a part of my job. It's what I do here. Okay, I am here to share knowledge and information. So the first time this happened, the human ego went, oh, wait a minute. If I start saying this now, when I've said this all these years, I'm going to look like I'm lying, or I don't know what I'm talking. All of these things come to the human ego, right? No, that's not true. That's simply not true. It simply means I, as a teacher, have grown. But I cannot grow if I do not release what no longer serves, just like anyone else. So relating that to where the collective is, even related to this pandemic, okay, going back, let's just look at that. Let's overlay that thought onto that. Everyone talks about the quote unquote new normal and that we can't go back to what was the normal before. We know that. We understand that. Okay. Does that mean it was wrong? We could talk that one to death. All right. If you want to know the truth. But let's just do it this way. Instead of putting blame, which is a very low frequency, instead of blaming, instead of creating enemies for ourselves by blaming someone for where our reality is right now, let's just say, you know what? It served us well as a collective. It got us here. Now it's time to move on and let it go. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't wrong then, but it would be wrong if we tried to take it forward. That's the first thing I have to share. Kabaha, Ariane, anything right here that you want to add or shift? We are going to come back to what we talked about, Kabaha, beforehand. So, yeah.
I was just, while you were talking about that with the collective, I was actually directly relating that to my personal experience. I have held beliefs my entire life that have driven my life and have driven, I'm going to say drama, because I've sort of stumbled from one drama to the next drama to the next drama throughout my entire life. And those dramas have been caused because of my beliefs. The thing that's happened to me now with the knowledge that I have just gained is exactly what Essence was saying. It is time to let those beliefs go. They brought me to where I am now. If I hadn't followed through those dramas, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. So they served a purpose. Now it's time to let them go. And now to really start that work, that studying, that growing, that developing. And a few years ago, I fell off the seawall, smashed my ankle, and it was the start of a metamorphosis. When COVID started, I likened myself to stepping out of the cocoon and being on a little twig and starting to fluff my wings up. I'm still at that point. Now it's time to really get some fluid through those wings, getting ready towards being able to fly. And I can see that being able to happen because I've been shown that I need to leave those beliefs behind that have colored my entire life. That's my personal journey. And it is completely a microcosm of the macrocosm. Absolutely. So it's good to think about how what's happening in your life to you affects and is an effect of the whole collective.
Very well stated. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Kabaha, anything you want to add here or talk about? Or
well, let's face it, all three of us were put in position where soul searching was necessary, and I know I did a lot. I wouldn't give up. It was like, why, and eventually I got the answers. But as Oriane mentioned and you mentioned, I understood on an emotional level to have my heart crack open with that shift of energy leaving me. Now I'm ready to do the work necessary to go up a notch and connect to that higher wisdom. That spirit is saying, no, you're ready. But the event was there as a trigger saying, okay, girl, you've been in a place where it was, cushy. I knew what I was doing. Now it's time to move up. And I totally understood that. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. I've got to just in those few minutes that ladies, that we did that, the pre-chat, the three of us, these notes here. I want to come back to them though. We're going to go ahead now with what we talked about, Kabaha. Okay, I'm feeling drawn. Let's go ahead and do that. What I'm talking about here is the three of us, when we talked a couple of days ago for this chat, knowing that we were coming into it with a very different type of programming than we normally do, I was led to ask Kobaha to, in this moment, draw a card. And that card, so I would like all of you to just, you don't have to overthink it, okay? Really just find a beautiful color and send in your thoughts toward Kobaha, and that will be plenty. But the intention is that this card is going to give us in this moment a sort of pointing into a topic or something that needs to be spoken about right now. So Kabaha, if you want to go ahead and do that, and everybody find your beautiful color. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm going to use actually a new deck, quite new to me. It's called the Oracle of the Seven Energies by Colette Baron-Reid. I've used it a few times. I love the pictures, the messages. It's just beautiful. So let's have a look.
All right. So like I said, if everyone will just close their eyes or whatever works for you, and just that beautiful color, that energy, that color is nothing more than an energy frequency that you are being directed to add to this reading, this card.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to start with a number 5. This is the message. Can you see the message?
Read it to us. It's a little hard, at least right in the moment, to
body and soul. Yeah.
Oh, so are you saying you can't separate the physical from the spiritual?
Well, let's have a look. I'm going to look. Okay, the colors.
And when you finish, I want to add something about that.
Okay, we've got, I mean, it's beautiful. A lot of green, obviously, kind of a magenta. And there you've got that white light coming from spirit, which is the spiritual side. You've got the dragonfly for change and transformation, the lotus flower. Stunning. Okay, let me see what they're saying. Number 5. Taking care of yourself, seeing yourself as a complete package. Body not separate from soul, centered in your sense of self, comfortable in your body, your authentic identity, physical health.
So that is what it was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go there. So I'm going to add right here, I'm going to add this from the perspective of Metatronic numerology. We're going to add some information about that 5 frequency that card brought forward for us. Okay. First of all, the 5, the I am keyword phrase is I am adventurous change. Wow. Are we on an adventure or what here? Yeah, I believe we're on a collective adventure, and one that is changing all of reality for the collective, for us individually, because we are a part of the collective. The 5 frequency speaks to us of this change. It speaks to us of this going in search, okay, this adventure for, I swore I wasn't going to say these words, and here you are making me say them. What's next? Yeah, I've been threatening the other 2 Krones for saying those. Don't ask the question, what's next? But that's what, okay, we're here. And the bigger part of that 5 frequency, right, is that it anchors the change that is created into physical reality. All right. That's what that 5 frequency does. It's, first of all, it holds a neutral charge. All right. So that means it is absolutely full potential. There's a neutral charge there. You create, you go in search of, you find that. Now, the issues, let's look at this. This is what I'm hearing to share about this. The issues with the 5 frequency. All right. Now, I'm going to speak more from what will sound like I'm talking about an individual, and I am, because we're all individuals. Okay. But now overlay this information for the collective. Remember, the collective is also an individual. The collective consciousness of humanity is an individual consciousness, just as each of us are an individual consciousness. We all are just a part. Every human is a part of that make up. We are the, you could say, okay, this is the visual they're showing me to share right now. Just as like every cell in your body is a part of what makes up your physical self, okay? Every human is one cell in the collective consciousness of humanity. So the collective consciousness of humanity is a single individualized consciousness. This 5 frequency, all right, if we're talking about it, it creates change, and it is quick. It is mercury quick, all right? And it catches on fast, and it loves adventure. It loves to learn. But what happens is in the 5 frequency, when it's not in balance, all right, comes along procrastination, what appears like procrastination. And that is because the 5 frequency, because it just loves the adventure. It wants to learn. Okay. It wants the experience. So what happens is, and because it's so quick, so intelligent, if you will, you get just partially into the experience, and the 5 mind, and remember, we're talking about individuals, but we're also talking more about this collective consciousness of humanity. All right. The 5 mind can see the end result. It can see the big picture. What are we here talking about tonight? Don't lose sight of the big picture. This 5 frequency can see that big picture. And then it goes, okay, I don't need that anymore. I know that lesson. Let's go on to the next one. It gets excited. Give me another lesson. Teach me more. Teach me more. And I'm going to anchor that. I'm going to change with every lesson, with every bit of study and knowledge. The 5 grows and expands its consciousness. What are we doing as a collective? But the procrastination, it appears that way because sometimes we do need to finish a lesson from start to finish before moving on. If not, the full experience is not always, you don't always get as much as you could out of it. So let's look at that a little bit. Let's overlay that onto the collective, and let's look at even this virus and this pandemic. If we try to make it go away, all right, without going to the very finish as a collective, okay, in learning all the lessons that it offers, we're not gaining all that we can from it. And it will only anchor partial change into the collective reality. So that's what that 5 tells us. And then the card, the message of the card, very simply stated, and I know it was a little more than this, is telling us you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. So we cannot separate, we cannot take away the physical experience. Okay, thinking about this from the collective perspective, we cannot take away the physical experience of even this pandemic and grow spiritually and expand our consciousness. Anyone? Ariane, Kabaha, anything to add here? Go ahead.
Actually, I was looking, the other term they use there, which quite interesting, connected with the body and soul. It is part of becoming authentic, our authentic identity. I mean, that's key. I've got shivers all over me now, saying
Yes.
that the authentic identity is part of that too.
Right. And if we remember that we are in a collective energy field, right? And entered it a year-ish ago, something like that, maybe about the time all of this started in our global society, a energy field known as the time of the testing of integrity. What does that add to all of this? What does that add to this bigger picture? Ariane, thoughts? Anything? You have to unmute. You can just stay unmuted. I think we
I
can be
wasn't
quiet.
saying anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you weren't. That's why I was asking. Okay. So,
Essence, can I add something from the
yes,
picture,
ma'am.
which is
Please,
interesting?
yes, this is a chat. Go for it.
Because I just noticed that you've got the heart there on that picture, and it's surrounded by like that cocoon
Right.
of green healing energy. And it's funny, you look there, it's like a zip, and makes me think of that cracking. Slowly
Yeah.
but surely, you're cracking the old, and the healing is taking place.
Right. Yeah. And the other interesting thing, I heard you mention the colors on the card. The two were magenta and green.
Green,
Okay.
and you've got obviously the lotus, which is a kind of pink.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously the green, and even the green. Okay. Simply stated, the green. So let's just look at that even. Let's find the information there. The green, that's heart chakra. We know that, just like, and everything what you just said there. Okay. The lotus flower is representative of higher consciousness. All right. The pink is the lowest frequency of the high heart. That is where that compassion with detachment comes into play. Okay. And the magenta is one of the main colors of the planetary soul star chakra.
And how interesting, the actual dragonfly, which represents change and transformation, is yellow.
Change, dragonfly medicine brings us messages of change, transformation, and illusion. Dragonfly helps see through the illusion.
How interesting is that? It's yellow.
And is yellow?
Yeah.
Okay. First, then if we adding these pieces, right? If we have yellow, first thing that comes to mind is obviously that's the solar plexus color, but it is also, yellow is also energetically, it is the color of the intellect. It is the color of the mind and of thinking and of study. When you are studying, okay, literally studying, I don't care if you're in school or, doing what we do. If you, the two colors that you want to like bring into the atmosphere of the room that you're in studying, however you do it, okay, candle magic is one really strong way. All right. But it doesn't matter how it is. The two colors, when you're studying, when you're learning, when you are expanding your consciousness, are purple and yellow. Those are the two colors of the intellect. They stimulate the intellect. All right. And all that's just another way of saying help you open, okay, these higher chakras, help you open the mind to the expanded knowledge that, is coming your way, that you're in search of. So I want to, okay, I'm going to, this is what I'm hearing now. I know both the other Krones have a little bit they want to share about this, I'm pretty sure. These are the notes I took just when the three of us were talking just before everyone started getting here. Okay, the first thing I have down is digging into the past through research into personal archives. Y'all want to share something on that? Go ahead. Ariane's trying to find
Sorry,
that.
I was having problems unmuting there. One of the things that has been really notable for the last probably 4 or 5 days for me, and it started off with something that Freddie did, and she told us that she'd been looking through the old files of the First Wave Blu-ray Indigo group on Facebook. Oh, that's interesting. Da-da-da. And then I realized that I had that.
Just real quick right here, just for those who may not know, because not everyone does. First Wave Blu-ray Indigo was a group, is actually the group where we met several years ago. So, okay, just for reference, that's all. Go ahead. On Facebook. Okay, it's archived. Bye.
Thank you, Essence. Yes, I really did that. But I also realized that I'd set myself a challenge in more. I have many different computers, tablets, phones, and they each have a diary on them, and they've all got entries on them. And I thought, this is silly, let's bring them all into one. So I started that task, which is pretty major. And the point that very first came to me was the very first day that I had any intimation that I was about to start on this spiritual journey. It was the very first point. And so I've been traveling through old diary entries, some of which are incredibly emotional, some are really angry, some are like, oh my God, this is happening, through my whole neophyte stage, and really building through everything that's happened to me over the last 6-7 years. And then I noticed that probably another 4 or 5 people in my immediate circle have been doing something very, very similar. So I sat down to think about this, what's happening. And I realized what's happening is that even before COVID came along, there was a lot of neophytes, a lot of people on the spiritual journey who appeared to be losing their way. And it happens. Some people, they join, they stay for a little while, their drop off change, their truths change. But then through COVID, it got worse. There was a lot of people who seemed to lose their path, gone off on a side tangent or something. And it came to me that the reason that people are delving through their personal archives through the last few years is because they're seeking or being directed by spirit to look at what they have done, where they've achieved, what they've achieved, to get back and refine their path, to remember where they're heading, to even address where they used to think they were heading, but where they may be heading now. But this whole delving through archives is a way of pointing us not to forget that big picture. We are here for a reason, and we don't want to lose that. We need to pull ourselves back onto that path. And a good way to remind that so many people are being directed to is to look at your recent history, basically. So that was something that was really interesting and marked in my life, and it just tied in nicely with what we've been talking about.
Yeah, we in that vein, in that context, we're talking about the fact that nothing is random. And this is one thing, but we tend to forget. I actually even wrote an article about this a few years ago, and because nothing is random, but we forget, okay, because we live on a linear timeline as humans. Okay, so it feels like we're marching from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And there's so many things, all right, in our daily life, our 3D life, as we call it, and our spiritual life. And we forget, we get excited over big things, we get frustrated over big things, all of this, but we forget exactly what Ariane was talking about, where we've come from. Okay, we forget that we've grown so much. Okay, nothing is random. It's all tied together. Yes, go ahead, Kabaha.
It's interesting because when I went back to the, Indigo,
Yeah.
it was to look for some, one of the, well, I was looking specifically for one of my posts. I remember that I posted in there, but how interesting to find some other posts. I didn't find specifically that post, other posts. And I'm thinking, wow, Spirit is showing me, look how far you've come from, how you evolve, where you at. And I think it's important because, as you said, Essence, in our 3D madness type of life, where we don't sit, we don't ponder. I'm very good at that. I do it every day. We don't know, we don't realize. And you know what? In tough times, like we are at the moment, these unprecedented times, I think people need to realize and remember they've achieved something in their lives and go back to it and thinking, you know what? I'm not in such a bad place.
I fully agree. And because it is that, what was you, I'm trying to, what you just said here, you need to realize, how far you've come, that you are making progress, because what happens when we start seeing all of these things as random and as disconnected, we start feeling like we're not making any progress. We start feeling like, well, what am I even doing this for? From the human mind perspective. And this right here is where, to me, it is so important that we don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Yes, we are human. And to me, very simply stated, there's a lot of things, but I'm not, y'all know me, I could talk forever. But there's a lot of things I could say about this, but it's so important to remember we are here as spirit in human form for this experience. Okay. Yes, we're human. Yes, we have to do this part. Yes, it is a part of, once again, you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual, because and I say that over and over and over, because even in it's really to me of course it's been a part of my personal journey here the last 2 or 3 years actually, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's just that it cycles, or it is so, I keep learning more and more and more that there are so many connections that we just don't see, that we forget the physical is spiritual. The physical form, the physical life, it's not just about our physical bodies, although that is a big part of it. Okay, it is a major part, because your physical body is truly your temple in this sacred space on this planet in which we exist. So, not judging or anything else, believe me, every bad habit a human could have, I've had it one time or another. Okay. So it's not a judging thing. It's a simply, you've got to understand this right here is just as spiritual as chanting Om. There is nothing about you, nothing that is not spiritual. Yes, Kabahako.
I'm laughing because it's like me with my birds every morning. That's spiritual too. I'm talking, right. But come on, it's true. It's looking around you as well. That's yes. 3D life. I know sometimes it's a bit nightmarish. We don't like it. It's challenge. But sometimes you look around you, you see the beauty. And that's spiritual. That's the physical.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
And I'm hearing in this moment, as crazy as this is going to sound when it comes out of my mouth, because it sounds crazy in my human mind. But the truth of the matter is, even this virus, this pandemic, you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. Even this is a spiritual experience for this collective. And we as starseeds, this is the message I'm hearing to share in this moment, so I'm going to share it. We as starseeds, we're here to lead the way. We are here to care for the children, and our children are the unawakened masses. And we starseeds have got to stop feeding them toxins about how everything is your enemy. Everything is against you. Everything is here to harm you. No, it's a journey. It's a journey that we as a collective have chosen to be our spiritual journey through this very beautiful physical planet. Now, am I saying, just for the record, okay, that this pandemic is beautiful on the physical level? No, I am not. Okay, let's just make that perfectly clear. But what I am saying is that it is a part of our spiritual journey as a collective consciousness, and we have chosen it, and it has the potential to take us far. Kabaha.
A huge opportunity. I know it's hard. As I explained that the other day to someone, actually one of my neighbors, and she understands because she's on the spiritual journey. And I said, the virus, it gave us the opportunity to make major positive changes in our lives. But, you know, it's not for everyone to see. That's the thing.
No, it's not, but it is a part of the journey. And but I'm going to be honest from my perspective. Let's just put it that way. Okay. As starseed, light worker, awaken, whatever you want to call yourself. I don't care. All the labels, one works just as well as the other. Okay. It is our responsibility to stop feeding this concept that there is an enemy. I'm going to share a personal experience again. And I'll tell you what, this cracking open thing for me has been interesting because I'm still a very private person, but I shared more in this chat probably with public than I have ever in my entire life. So I'm going to share something. I recently, in talking with some people and sharing thoughts, I made some of these comments here about, you know, we've got to stop creating enemies. Okay. And I am going to use this as example. This whole thing about the government's your enemy, mainstream media is your enemy. This, you know, big pharma is your enemy. Everybody's your enemy. You know why? You know why they're our enemy? Because we created them to be our enemy. We ask them to be our enemy. Yeah. Okay. So that message came to me a few days ago in that really strong sense. Okay. In other words, another spiral around, even for me personally. And in that moment, I said, okay, I change my perspective. Now that doesn't mean I'm not realistic. That's a whole other thing. You have to be realistic, but you have to change your perspective. You have to change the energy that you are feeding these things. So I did. In that moment, I said, okay, I choose to change. You know what? Very simply stated, long story short, I got some amazing abundance that happened. Okay. With that, literally within 24 hours. Medications that I have to take right now for a short period of time, suddenly my insurance covered all of it. It hadn't before, but I changed my perspective. I changed the energy I was adding. I changed the very thought that there is something out there that's not working for me in my best interest. Yes, Kabaha. And it changed immediately in my physical life.
I'm not surprised. I mean, we had that conversation before. If you remember, when Arizona decided to reopen due to the COVID restrictions, I know my hobby can be a bit passionate, and seeing people wearing masks, for me, it's quite a challenge to calm him down. But there is one thing I said to him the other day. regardless our opinion, because we all have opinions about it. The mask, the virus, the vaccine. We need to be kind. You can talk to someone, and I've done it in my neighborhood, with someone I don't agree with. You can be kind. You can speak in a kind way, saying to the person, I understand where you're at, but my opinion is blah, blah, blah. So we're talking about energy here, okay? But guess what? You can have a conversation with that lady. The conversation was flowing because she could sense I was not aggressive.
Right. Very much so. I'm hearing, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm hearing that we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. We will be having other chats that on this format, this open format, let's say, okay? I do want to tell everyone our next chat is going to be scheduled to, hang on, I'm pulling up my calendar so I don't lie to you. It is actually going to be on a Tuesday on the 27th of this month. Right. Okay. Just, and there's a very specific reason why I won't go into right now, but we're going to get ready to finish this chat. So Ariane, do you have anything else you'd say? Does anyone have anything they would like to share or comments, whether they want to say it aloud or type it into the chat? You're more than welcome to. Also, as always, we will have the after chat after we quit recording, and you're welcome to stay and join us and chat there as well. So go ahead, anyone. Orion.
I was wanting to add earlier when you were talking about how you chose to change. This is something that I work with quite deeply with people is I'm sorry, I'm laughing at one of the people who's got his cat that's just come right into their face. It's like beautiful. But one of the things that I work with people with, and it is something that every single person can do, when things become too hard and overwhelming, and you feel as if you're in a dark place, look for the little spot of light, what I call the bling. Look for the bling. It's always there. For example, where I am in the north of Queensland, we've never had to wear masks. We've never had a case of COVID in our areas. But our government decided that because there was a couple of cases of COVID 2,500 kilometres away from us, that we had to wear masks. And I had this little freak, which I'm sure you've all experienced. So I flipped it. I looked for the bling. I made a mask out of a pair of pink socks and called myself a Muppet. And it just brought everything into some sort of humor, took the fear, the potential fear away. We can all look for those little spots of bling that can change so much about how we and other people, as Kobaha experienced, can interact with each other. And I think that's a really important thing for us all to work on as an individual, because every individual who can do that affects the collective. Thank you.
Sorry, forgot to unmute. Okay, thank you. So I've really enjoyed this evening. I've really enjoyed this yammering chat that the three of us are really good at. There's no doubt about that. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and in no time and no space, we're truly honored. We'll be talking more about these things. Normally at this point, we would be doing a guided meditation, but this evening, how we're going to end, of course, we always end on silence, but I've got some messages that I want to read. Two of them are you've actually heard before. One of them is a message from IKoK that appeared and was given to me on the 8th of this month. So, well, let's see, that would have been yesterday. Wow, really? Only yesterday. This seems like a month ago. But anyway, so if everyone will just relax, take yourself into center, and simply listen to the messages, and we will make our way out gently and silently in just a few moments. Okay. The first message is actually one that we received. If you're in December, excuse me, of 2020. This is from the Intergalactic Governance Board from Navari, the Earth liaison of the Intergalactic Governance Board. She says to us, a master is one who has achieved a level of control over self that allows them to seek, know, and hear the answers from within while under extreme duress. The field of vibrational frequency known to your collective as the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and into which your collective reality is just beginning to access, calls for this level of self-mastery to be attained and maintained by an unprecedented percentage portion of your species. And this percentage must be reached at a rate heretofore unknown and experienced by humanity of Earth. The next message I would like to share again was one that I actually received in 2013 from a universal elder. Worlds are ending. Realities are melting away. And this is how it should be. For this is movement upon the new firma matter, sacred cosmic terra matter, spoken of by the universal elders of things to come. Those things whose seeds were planted so long ago at the time of the first gathering of and by those who have dedicated a portion of their eternal existence to the manifesting of collective realities and the worlds created within them. Now is simply the time of the spiraling, of the changing, of the guardians of eternity. And the last message I would like to read and share this evening is the message from IKoK that came in yesterday. IKoK tells us, when the signs of warning begin, become still and silent. When chaos starts to swirl all around, then is when inner peace and calm are most essential. When all the world is attuned to the rhythm of the beating of the drums of discord, do not feel the dance of drama within your energy. Instead, stand within your energy. Instead, stand silent and allow the beat of your own heart to entrain fully with that of the nature of Earth and the consciousness of the cosmos. Become the steel point between the Earth and the cosmos. Become the anchor of inner peace humanity craves. Become the initial spark of creation of the new world seeking to be birthed. Become the genesis. Become the portal of Jnehe. Kara unche prana. Kara unche prana. Kara unche prana.